Hello, I am Eucharia Oluchi Nwaichi. Today we'll be discussing applying evidence. And before we can understand if our evidence has been applied or used, we need to understand the policy context of our research, understand how we can access evidence, understand how we can appraise evidence, and synthesize the appraised evidence. So we look at the module objectives we have for this topic, which is applying evidence. Identify indicators of evidence use, know steps for developing a communication strategy. Describe objective outcome and audience for a communication strategy for their policy issue. Draft a communication strategy for their policy issue, including messages, channels, and evaluation. I look at evidence use and application as that bond that holds the globe together. Yes, it holds the globe together, giving us maybe one crack option. Yes. So when we see evidence used or we see evidence has been applied, what it looks like will be new policies created, amended policies, recommendations adopted by implementing institutions, guideline revised to reflect the evidence presented, influencing upstream policy dialogue, inclusion on agenda of technical working group, level changes in budget lines, changes made to programs, services, and maybe upscale of interventions that are made. So we consider evidence application or use like in use, in reach, in collaboration, or in capacity building. These are the four possible horizons that we can find the evidence use. So in the use core, we think about the policies created, the guidelines created or amended, the program rolled out, the services and their management, service delivery, training like science education, community outreach, even counseling. And when we think about the reach aspect of the evidence use, we're thinking about how many people we're supposed to reach or we have reached, number of papers published, peer review, of course, number of documents published, information products, released tools, and reprinted because their evidences have been overwhelming. They reprint them, they reuse them, they redistribute them. I mean the recipients, yeah? So the product, the tools, adapted to suit different contexts and even leadership at the different levels, global, regional, and even local. Yeah, we now say there's evidence used by reach. We can also look at evidence use or application at the capacity building level. When we have built capacity and its evidence using evidences presented, that will be measured now by the number of training, type of training given, building workshops, number of people reached through the workshops that we conducted, informal and formal, even diffusion of knowledge to second tier level, to people not of target when they have diffused. Maybe we train people and they train others, like a ripple effect. So all of those can be found in the capacity building horizon of evidence use and application. We can also look at it as collaboration. So when we see collaboration happening as a result of our evidence, we see different partner-to-partner collaboration, as many as possible that have found the capacity, the skills that need to be put together to have the changes we desire come to light. Yes, we can also think about the funds that have been put together as the project gets entangled in the evidence drive. Yeah, so all of these, we can find the synergy among partners that have been listed in the action party or even in the audience baggage. So these are important indicators that we can find for evidence use application. I've said before, around 4 horizons: the use, the reach, the collaboration, and capacity building. We can also look at entry points for this application using the reproductive health research as an example, which can be replicated in different sectors that we're interested, that our evidences apply. So we have the scale, like here, global to national, could be national to regional to local, depending on your case, okay, and your context. Then we have dissemination of findings. It could be to peers via journal articles, seminars, research reports, symposia, and then dissemination could be advocacy to stakeholders, to the public, maybe using the media, and we can have policy briefs, press releases, and mass media reports. That trickles into development of policies and interventions. There we have the guidelines for practice, we have the strategies for program delivery, and even legislation. Then testing of interventions. There we have the level of training, evaluation of what we've done, and new research needs coming out. Then we have that evidence-based practice being institutionalized. There is an important tool that we need to support use of evidence or application of evidence in policy making. That's communication strategy. Because we know that communication strategy is very important in all what we do around development. And we need a push and we need a delivery. So because there is a push and there is a delivery, so we must have steps that we need to follow to make the strategy effective. It goes round like with developing through eggs, through larva, through pupa, and through an adult fly. So we develop our communications objectives, identify and analyze our audiences, develop the messages that will convey what we have to our audiences that we have mapped. And then these messages can be customized, like the elevation speeches, where the messages are brief and customized to meet the needs of the audiences. We select the channels to use and the format for delivery, and then create a work plan for the communication activity, begin implementation, after which we monitor and evaluate. That way, the communication strategy will be complete for understanding, applying evidence use. So we develop first step, objectives and outcome, looking at them step by step. What do we want to achieve with our communication? We have to define this in simple and clear terms that are measurable. Getting this issue on an agenda is really very important. So here we have to think about SMART to see the objectives are specific, they are measurable, they are relevant, they are time-bound, and they are achievable. This is very important when we're creating the objectives for policy communication, and also making sure that outcomes are clearly labeled. How do we understand our audience? We look at our audience in two categories, the primary and the secondary. While the primary audience will be the policymaker who can directly affect the policy on our issue, the person or the persons who can bring about the desired change that we wish to have, and then those who can influence them, their friends, their families, their service providers, maybe chauffeur, maybe secretary, maybe personal assistant, and all of the list is endless. We just have to look at the audience baggage very well so we can find who the secondary audiences are. One of those who are always forming obstacles, like opponents, maybe looking at political parties, those who belong to the other faction or whatever enclave you are defining that. So you can think of those who are opposing all the time. So if we can get them understand our issue, they can help us influence stop being obstacles. So these people are also very important part of our secondary audience. So knowing our audience, we have to think about who they listen to. That will help us to know our method of entry. What do they know about our topic? Very important. If we understand what they know about our topic, for example, we can know what they don't know about the topic. So we can get in, our attention grabber can be centered around what they don't know about the topic. So we need to find out what they know to help us determine what they don't know about the topic, which will get them on the discussion table. Are they interested in our topic? Mm-hmm. If they are not, issue may not cross the policy window, yeah. But if they're interested, yes, we can have a good fly. What are the best ways to read them? There you're thinking about the channels, the medium, you're thinking about the format, the ways in which we pass the message. Developing messages can be very Herculean because research has shown that not more than 3 points can our audience remember after our presentation. So why don't we focus on max 3 messages instead of, modeling all the page with a lot of information as messages? Yeah, so we need to think about 3 key messages that they need to take home. Think about what the world has done with Veni, Vidi, Vici, I came, I saw, I conquered. By the way, I'm wishing that we as scientists, as policymakers, as scientific officers at the policymaking houses will come, see, and also conquer because the world is looking at us. Yeah, so back to the 3-point message. Look at also what the safety message says about stop, look, and listen. Yeah, this is very important. All the time, from generation to generation, ever since these messages were created, we have not lost them. People translate them, transform them from one generation to the other, and they are not missing because they have been structured in that way. 3-point message. So let's try to put our messages in 3-point form. And while thinking about the messages, we should think about the message in form of data that the finding. Second level of message should be implication. That means the meaning of the finding. And then the recommendation, what we're expecting the action party to do. That means actionable recommendation. Then we should make sure that the message is tailored to the audience. Sometimes we have more than one audience. Yeah, even primary audience, we may have more than one. So are we going to copy and paste the message from one audience to the other? No, we have to tailor them to the specific audience that received the message and deliver through credible source. Because there's a maxim that says that the message is as good as the messenger. So who is the messenger? We will see. Avoid technical jargon. It's not good to have technical jargon in any of our presentations when we're dealing with policy. So I can decide to deliver my message. You can decide to deliver your message. You can also decide that your boss becomes the deliverer, the conveyor of the message. Yeah, if your boss will fit in better in your analysis and assessment. A policymaker also can be that policymaker who is on your side and you've figured him out or figured her out as that policymaker who has that voice, who is very influential, who has the wherewithal with words. People love to listen to him, love to listen to her. You can bring the message to the policymaker who becomes your champion. Yeah, he can carry your message. He can be a celebrity, maybe in an issue surrounding the youth, maybe a singer, a musician, maybe met who can carry the message to get to the target audience. It may be a foreigner. Oftentimes people thinking about everybody has interest. You bring in a message with evidence and people thinking you have an interest. That's why you're passionate about it. But a foreigner may be seen to have less stake around it and it may work. So do your assessment and analysis very well to decide who delivers the message. So message can have these channels: face-to-face, mass media, and social media. So face-to-face is majorly interpersonal. So you may have workshops where you're talking to people, feedback learning, seminar, talking to people who ask questions at the end of the day, or reports, policy memoranda, letters, emails, okay? Mass media also can be very wonderful channel, the press, when you're setting an agenda, when you want to get the issue to be talked about, broadcast, radio, television, mass mailing, internet websites. You can also use the social media. You use the WhatsApp, you use the Twitter, you use the Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, all of them. We can use them to communicate. After doing your audience baggage to make sure your audience, your target audience can be met. If you can't reach your audience and you use the wrong channel, sorry, there is nothing you can do about it. And when you identify the channels, you decide what format you're going to use. If you're having face-to-face communication, are you thinking about using printed document like the fact sheets, or you're thinking about flyers, handbills, or you're thinking about PowerPoint presentation, or what? What are the formats, the way you're conveying the message? So you also have to be very cool about that, clear. So if you determine the format, you have to make sure that the presentation is clear. Yeah, so channels chosen first and format follows. And then you have to make sure that the presentation has good appearance. Even if it's face-to-face, the way you look is important. And if it's not face-to-face, like fact sheets, like reports, like handbills, also there's appearance aspect of it. Looking at combination of fonts, using good fonts like sans serif that are friendly with the eyes, and color combination, making sure that you don't have color riot background, okay? Using good picture, using good skills to make the appearance beautiful. Even when we go on personal face-to-face, how do we appear? Outside being corporate in our dressing, how do we make ourselves to appear well in that context? What is the culture of the people? Yeah, what are they expecting to say good appearance means to them? So you have to do audience baggage before going to that presentation. Make sure it is clear. Clarity is important. In simple language, the language register of the field is not important at this time, because you want people to understand how important the policy issue that you wish to change is. Brevity. The policymakers, of course, are very busy, so we can't put a lot of information. It has to be very brief. We need to think about how to make it brief. Even if the area has some tables, figures, models that must accompany such presentation, you can make it an appendix so you don't distract your audience. Get them focused and understand the key message. You want to put mathematical formulas? No. The audience may lose it on that. They can go to appendix, yeah? Credibility and trustworthiness. So trustworthiness may be seen in principle as objective, because we can measure how trustworthy you are. Maybe what you say you will do and your deeds can be measured, yeah? So, but credibility will be subjective, because it's how the people perceive you, perceive your trustworthiness. That will be the credibility. So we have to really be careful how we carry ourselves as scientists, as people, influencers who are trying to change policy issues, to bring about policies, to make policies amended to suit what solves the policy issue that is burning, that must be changed. Okay, so it's all encompassing. They are perceiving us. So you may be trustworthy, but not credible. So if you're trustworthy, you're not credible, it's not going to pass through the policy window and get entry onto the agenda and eventually be influenced. So we need to think about our credibility and our trustworthiness. This is where we have to bold the note. Associating the bold and the note. Creating a work plan is the point where we now bold the note, put them detail and dot all the I's. Asking the relevant questions. For whom are we designing this message? When is the message going out? Put timelines to it, beginning and end. By what means? What are the resources? By whom? Who is carrying out what? How often? Frequency, how many times? These are important questions to be asked. And this plan will encompass all the communication activities with their timelines, and then the resources, clear human resources, financial resources, Material resources, all of them are there. Are there any upcoming events that may support your objective? You can cash in on that. Say you have annual budgeting, you have program evaluations, you have national conferences or conferences for legislators. Maybe it's annual, it's biennial, it's biannual. You can structure your message to come around that event so you can have a good landing. It's important. Then you pretest. Pretest, we underestimate it because it can dramatically change the whole game. It can improve the effectiveness of materials that we have prepared to go out to our target audience. Yeah, it can bring down the cost of carrying out the activities that gets our evidence is used. It can also bring down the effort that we put in these programmatic activities cannot be measured. So we need to bring it down so we can be strong to enjoy the consumption of our evidences and how the world is getting better for it. We put together, it is now to implement, to put to test, to put to work. If we don't do anything, nothing changes, nothing works. If we put the documentation, everything together, we have assessed the evidence, we've appraised the evidence, we have synthesized the evidence, we now putting them on the shelf. No implementation, nothing changes. So we need to get on working. So evaluation will follow immediately after implementation. Monitoring and evaluation to see that our issue has gained the attention it requires of the policymakers. We see that it's being talked about. We see that initiatives are springing up here and there because of our evidences presented. To see that task working groups are being set up. To see that communication efforts are bringing coalition of parties together to begin to look closely to what issues we have presented. So this will give us performance and this will give us impact, how activities that we have designed will be bringing about the desired changes. So I go through the objectives again to be sure that we have achieved all of this. And I hope you have also achieved this. You have been able to identify indicators of evidence use in your case. You also now know the steps for developing your communication strategy. You also can now describe with ease objective, outcome, and audience for communication strategy for your policy issue. You can also now draft a communication strategy for your policy issue, including the messages, the channels, the formats, and evaluation. So I want to thank AFIDEP, the African Institute for Development Policy, for creating most of these slides I presented to you today. I want to thank you for your rapt attention. And if you want to contact me, on the slide, you can see my email addresses, eucharia.nwaichi@uniport.edu.ng or no.m@yahoo.com. Thanks, bye.